So, Sir John, tell us about the aspect of learning money to businesses and people, and that was a branch of your company, correct?
Yes.
All right. Can you let us a little know about?
Well, it's a funny thing. I talked to you earlier about people helping me.
Yeah.
Well, I was in the when I first started my business, 1962, October. By about December, a friend of mine, in fact, he lives today, Mackie Stowell, came by, and one night at about 11:30, I was in my office. He took one look at me and says, "Johnny," because that's what we grew up together, and that's what he called me. He says, "You got financial problems?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "I started my business. I had 500 pounds, it was about $800, and I've run out of money." He says, "Well, I have a piece of land in St. David's. You sell that, you can keep the money and put it on deposit and pay me interest on it, and you can use the money to do what you have to do." And I went out and I sold the land, made the deal with him, and that started the savings and loan company. And so, again, reaching out to people who reach out to you and always seeing the opportunity. So from there on in, we bought land and we built on it, and we got people to buy homes, and so that started the savings and loan company, which provided second mortgages for people, which provided people ability to save, so a combination of buying property and people putting money in deposit and people taking the cash and put it on deposit. And we went from about 62 December, just about December, 1st of January 63, until 65, 66, 67, when we got into difficulty. But we had a deposit from that period, went from my first deposit of about, maybe that was about 100 and something pounds at that stage, went up to, which is about $250. It went up to $56 million. So a very rapid increase in deposits. And they came from all different sources and people. I remember one chap gave me $3 million to put on deposit. And I told him I was just a small guy. He said, "I trust you, take my money." And then there were other people, black and white. Whites gave me their money without impunity and trusted me to do it. And so we had $56 million on deposit. And the company was going well. We met all the monetary authority requirements. We were having our reports audited and published and everything else. And about 1967, 66, 67, a statement made by the then Minister of Finance, who was the Premier, that these deposit companies are overstretching themselves and they can get into trouble. There was a run on our deposits. And a very rapid run on our deposits. I mean, we were used to taking in about maybe $300,000 and paying out at maybe $100,000. So we were growing, and all of a sudden, $400,000, $500,000 going out, and nothing coming in. And so I went to the banks to get help, and they refused to give me help. And I was in a quandary. Fortunately for me, I had applied for a license to have a bank and applied for a license to have an insurance company through Parliament. And that was under scrutiny because they said I had solicited, and they did an investigation by the Senate, and they found out I hadn't solicited anybody. People thought that I had asked for support, but I had asked nobody for support. And it got through, and they couldn't do anything about it. And so that company then, so we had these two. And when I was in trouble and the banks wouldn't help me, I had to figure a way how to get out of this mess that I was in, make sure people got their money back. And so after the banks weren't convinced, wouldn't cooperate to give me any loan or help me out with my deposit company, except they said they would discount it by 10%, which meant the fact that 5.6 million, which meant I would get the money, but I would have nothing. I'd be completely wiped out. Fortunately for me, after talking to my wife from 9 o'clock at night till 3 o'clock in the morning, I said, I got the answer. So I said, let's go to bed. Next morning I went in, I talked to a colleague of mine, and I said to him, Leon, I think that I have the answer to our problem. I said, we have a bank that's going to loan us. He said, John, you're crazy. We've been around to every bank overseas. They wouldn't, because 60-40 hadn't worked in Bermuda, not about to give it. I said, only you and I knew that. So I called the manager of the bank and thanked him for the arrangement. And he said to me, I thanked him for the arrangement. I said, I've made arrangements with somebody else to provide us with the money that I need to take and do this, and they will bail us out and everything else. And they're going to take over the deposit. They can take over my deposits, and they can take over the banking license. And the first thing he said, you can't do that. I said, I can do anything I want to do. I'm a free man to do what I want to do. You're not prepared to help me. So anyhow, we went through this back and forward. So in the final analysis, they came back to me and said, what do you want? I said, I want the same thing that you offered me. I said, I want to receive the $5.6 million that you now are going to take from me. I want it. If not, I'm going to close this deal. And they finally agreed to it. So I was able to pay everybody back their money because, I was helping everybody. I helped the BIU to get one of its buildings. I helped the PLP to get its headquarters and carried it for a long time. The BPSA with this building. Many commercial activities. It wasn't just residential, it was also helping people in the commercial world.